So main casing, the transfer box, and I've just got this guy out so it gives you a bit of orientation. We're looking at the back of the transfer box. There is your fill plug. This is where the rear housing goes on with the handbrake drum, and this is the bearing race that we're going to set up, the one that goes in here first of all, and once we've done that then we can go ahead and put the actual rear housing on. So the race that actually goes in there is the one from this main differential, and if you get your orientation from this thing, it's the side of all the gears. So this guy is going to have to be drifted in to here, so let me clear a bit of room to do this. I just want to keep that clean. Let me get this out the way. This gets fed in this end first, and it gets fed in from the actual far side of this thing, which is the front. So let me get this out the way and keep it clean. Just check the faces are clean. It's pretty good to me. Now this is the one which I mentioned, which has to be recessed at 1mm to allow for the flange on the rear housing. So somehow I'm going to have to get it knocked down to just below there by 1mm, which is going to be interesting. So I'm trying to get as many of these bearings and races in so that I don't get them lost or confused. So let's give those a tap in just to get it started. It's going in pretty easy. We're getting to the zone now. We have to go a bit careful. Right, that's flush, so now we need another extra millimetre on there. So let me figure something out. I'm going to get the feeler gauges first of all, and also a DTI on that. This is going to be quite tricky to get in. Don't know how accurate you have to be. I assume it'll all pull tight when you torque everything up. So let me get set up for this one. And that's sticking up a bit anyway. It's not that square in. So this is going to be fun. Just going to use the old one to drift it in a bit more. And we'll go with this as well. I don't really want to knock it through too much. I think there's a bit of tolerance. I've read 1mm, but I think you can go a little bit. Right, just starting to recess now. Not quite there, but we're close. Right, that's it. That's it, we're there with a milli. It's maybe just over. That's as close as I'm going to get it at the moment. I'm going to get another measure on there. I'm going to set up the DTI measure on it, and if I'm close enough, I'm going to go with that. Alright, so next thing I want to address is the bearings, or at least one of them. First of all, I'm going to put two in, but one of them needs shimming, so I'm only going to put it in as a stopgap measure. But this is the main input gear, which goes in this housing here on the left as you look at it from the back, and there is a bearing track or shoulder for it to sit on right at the bottom there. These two bearings are the same, but you have to keep them married up, or it's good practice to marry these things up. So when I put these on, I actually marked up which one bearing track goes with which bearing, and you have to keep them like that. Just good practice, really. So I'll get this out of the way, and somehow I'm going to have to drift one of these into the casing. It's quite low down, it's got decent access. I think I'm going to have to use a punch or something to get it in, but we'll get that knocked in. Alright, here we go, see if this will reach or not. I'm not happy about it. Hard getting it started, that's the problem. With a sneaky technique. No, that's not going to work. I just can't. If I get it started, I fancy my chances, but it's that initial start. Alright, I think it's going. Alright, that's that guy in. He's sitting in there. Okay, I'm not happy with the way it went in. It's definitely seated though. But I've been going that square to start with. This casing's really soft, so be careful with it. I'm not happy with some of the edges, seems to have burred up or I've been trying to compress it in, but it is what it is. Alright. Next up we'll do the temporary putting in of the bearing track on this PTO, so I'll put this to the side for a minute. So this is the cover for the input shaft or PTO, and this marries up to the main casing, and we'll put the opposite bearing on for the input gear, and hopefully this will drift in better. I've got better access to it. I wasn't happy with that last one, I've got to say. This is the track for it. I'll get him sat in there, and hopefully this will drift in a lot better. Went in easy, it's not fully home yet. Nope, it's a fair bit to go yet. I need to find a suitable drift on that. That'll do it. That's not a bad drift. Almost there. Alright, there we go. He's in. This one will have to come out at some point once I've measured the float on it. This will have to come out and I'll have to add a spacer to it.